Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll be going over some of my favorite early game farms. Now you may have already seen a few of these built up in my hardcore world, and if you haven't, check out my first 300 days surviving hardcore Minecraft. I'll link the video in the description below. In the meantime, let's get started. This is a kelp farm, one of the best sources of fuel in early game Minecraft. It's expandable, efficient, and since coal is now harder to find in caves, it's one of my favorite farms to set up when I create new worlds. Here's what you're going to need to get started. The hardest material to get for this build is quartz, but if you don't mind a quick trip to the nether, it can usually be found within 15 or so blocks of your portal. Whenever I'm building my farms, I like to start with the collection area first. For the kelp farm, we'll need all of the hoppers to funnel the kelp into these two smokers, where it will then be cooked into dried kelp and transported to the chests below. So arrange your hoppers all leading into the smokers, like I've placed here. And once you've got your hoppers where they need to be, go ahead and build up a little wall here. Now I'm going to keep it down to 4, but you can build this as wide and as tall as you want it. But basically the rest of the build is pretty simple. You're going to place a piston down facing the direction of the kelp, and then you're going to place an observer down on top of that piston facing that same direction. So like I said, you can go as tall as you want, as high as you want, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do a few layers. That way we get to see it in action. So now that we've got our observers and pistons arranged however tall and wide you need them, we're going to need the water to flow into the hoppers below. So go ahead and build up a wall around the hoppers and make sure the water will flow directly onto the hoppers that lead into your smokers. Now for my farms, I like to use glass. That way I can see it working and I'm not always worried about something being broken. It also looks better than a block tower pooping out kelp every 5 minutes. So go ahead and fill in the gaps so that none of the water or kelp can fall out, and get some buckets ready because we're just about done. Oh, almost forgot the most important part. Don't forget to place redstone above these pistons, right behind the observers. That way, whenever they detect the kelp, they'll activate the piston. Alright, and that should just about do it. So now let's go ahead and wait for some kelp to grow. And there you have it, your own functional kelp farm. Now you're going to need some kind of fuel source to get this thing started, and if you don't feel like hunting down some coal, you can always just use logs. So let's go ahead and get a stack of logs and place half of them in each of these smokers. Give it some time, and we should see a good amount of kelp piled up at the bottom there. Okay, let's see if we've got enough for a block, and it looks like we do. So once you get the dried kelp, the best way to do this is to go ahead and craft it up into blocks. See if we can get this down. Alright, now 9 dried kelp is 1 dried kelp block. Now let's go ahead and show you guys the difference between a dried kelp block and coal. So as you can see, dried kelp is a lot more efficient than coal, by almost twice as much. So I recommend anybody starting off in their world build one of these, as well as the next farm, an iron farm. So let's take a look at that. Here it is, the iron farm, one of the most OP farms in Minecraft. If you've ever had trouble running through caves and gathering up some iron, maybe you're building a hopper farm and run out, your troubles are no more. This will produce you an infinite amount of iron. This farm is going to take a little bit more material than the last one did, but it's still pretty simple. The hardest thing to get is going to be the name tag, and if you absolutely can't find one of these, you can always find a zombie walking around holding an item or wearing armor. That'll work just as well. For this project, you'll be needing to move some villagers around into the respective homes. So if you don't know how to do that, I'll link a video in the description below. In my hardcore world, I used minecarts, but you're welcome to use whatever you like. It works all the same. Per usual, I like to place my deposit chest down first, to give me an idea of where the rest of the farm will go. You'll then place 9 hoppers connecting to the deposit chest you'll be collecting your iron at. After that, you'll mark 2 blocks out and 3 over from your deposit chest. Then, you'll go up by 12. Once you're at the top, you'll mark out 3 blocks in each direction, with the exception of the direction your deposit chest will be in. These 3 blocks will be where the villagers sit and get scared by the zombie. Once you've got them created, you'll encase these 3 blocks to create a room on each side, 3 blocks long and 3 blocks high. Don't forget to block off the center for the zombie. Once you've created your rooms, you'll add a bed and a light source in each one. This is super important so that the villagers can reset and get scared all over again. With the rooms finished up, we can start on the platform that the iron golems will be spawning on. This platform will be 11 blocks long and 7 blocks wide. Be sure not to cover up the deposit area. With the base of the platform finished up, we now need to raise up the left side of it so that the golems that spawn on top will fall into flowing water and be carried to the deposit chest. This will need to be 8 blocks long and 7 blocks wide. We'll also need to block up the sides so that the water doesn't flow off. You'll need to use a block that the iron golem can't spawn on. I like to use walls, but don't connect them to the platform because golems will get stuck in the corners if you do. Now that we have a spot for our water to flow through, let's grab some signs and make sure we don't have any leaks. Don't forget, you can place them on top of each other. After that, it's time to lay down your buckets. Make sure the water all flows downward so that all the golems that spawn will flow right into your hoppers. And now onto the kill pit. Again, I like to use walls here, but you can use any block that golems don't spawn on top of. Surround the whoppers. You can get rid of this too. Surround the hoppers with walls and build them up by 4. Once that's done, you'll need to place down signs that will hold lava 1 block above your hoppers. That way the lava will sit 2 blocks above them and none of your precious iron will get burnt. Place the lava on top of the signs so that the golems that spawn in will fall directly into the pit, and build it up by 1 more block, that way none of them get lucky and land on the walls. The glass panes aren't necessary, but we might as well take advantage of the free light. We can get rid of this and head on up to place our villagers. In my hardcore world, I made a series of railways up to the platform. I had plenty of them left over from searching for my name tag. It also wasn't too hard to get the zombie to follow me up the railways, right on into his new home. But here, we'll just use some eggs and save a bit of time. And there you have it. The golems are already spawning in. The iron farm is finished, and so are your iron problems. All you gotta do now is sit next to the fire and watch your chests fill up. Now, on to one of my favorites. It's a little old, but still, one that I build in every world I create. The wheat farm. And this, my friends, is a wheat farm. You probably won't need one this big, and might even prefer to use villagers instead, but if not, let's take a look at a smaller design, easy to build early on. But first, let's watch this satisfying harvest. The wheat farm is probably the cheapest of the three in this video. You can even use normal pistons if you don't have any slime. Just replace the block the piston pushes up with sand or gravel. You can also use whatever kind of block you like to decorate. Let's get started. By now, you should all know the drill. Place down your deposit chests so that you know where the rest of the build is going to be, and then place down a lever too, so you know where the redstone will be running. Now the hoppers. And the rest is pretty easy. You'll want a layer of dirt for your farm to grow on, 7 blocks out from the hoppers. Remember, water will only flow 8 blocks before stopping, so you want to be sure each platform has enough room for the water to flow, but also for the water to fall down to the next level. The top layer, however, will need to only be 5 blocks long, to account for the block the piston pushes and the block the water will be placed in. Remember, if you don't have any slime for the sticky pistons, you can always use normal pistons with sand or gravel on top. It won't affect the redstone or break the farm. Now, it's time to connect the lever to our pistons. I like to use repeaters, but as long as the connection runs into all 4 of them, you shouldn't have any issues. Remember that handy dandy lever we placed earlier? Wait a second. Okay, depending on how long you make the farm, you may need a couple repeaters, but I think we'll just need 1 here. And with that out of the way, we can go ahead and block up the farm. Now it's time to place down the water and make sure everything's working correctly. Lastly, we can't forget about making sure all of our farm blocks have a water source. Without water, the farm will take a really long time to grow and won't work properly. Just bust out all the sides like I'm doing here and add in some water. And if you really want this farm to be the most efficient it can be, then encase the whole thing in glass and add some bees inside. And now it's time for the fun part. Yes, I forgot to add the water on this part. Please don't roast me. You don't have to fix this part, but it really bugs me, so I'm gonna do it anyways. And who wants to wait, right? And there you have it. Your wheat farm should be functional. Now you just flip the lever. Oh, you might need to put a couple stairs down. Let's go ahead and do that now. And now we're done. Just replant the seeds and watch them grow. Now there's one more farm to show off in this video. Kind of a bonus, but it's one of the main reasons why I build my wheat farm so early on in my hardcore worlds. I call it the slaughterhouse. Do I even need to say it at this point? Alright, so this farm works by entity cramming each of the cows. So really you just need a 1x1 box to put them in, and some slabs so you can kill them. Place some water so they float, and some stairs to get up. Now, the hard part. Getting the cows inside. I usually build a platform around the glass and push them in, but there's a few ways to do it. I don't recommend using the trapdoor like I do here. And voila, the cows are in the water. Now, you're going to want to get a fence post and place it above their heads. Pretty much just spam click until both of them are down. And that just about does it. Now, all you have to do is breed up the cows until they start entity cramming. And there you have it. My 3 favorite farms to build when starting a new Minecraft world. I hope this helps, and as always, I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it. If you'd like more content like this, check me out on Twitch. I try to stream at least 3 days a week and would love to see some of you stop by. I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks again.